Hello, what a great afternoon we're having here at CDAO Germany. Now, I'm bringing another panel for you all, this time centering around succeeding in the digital age. How can data science leaders play a critical role in their organization's modernization journey? Now, to lead this conversation for the next 45 minutes, we have brought in the wonderful David Bloch, who's the Director for Data Science Strategy from Domino Data Lab. Now, just as you have been doing all event long, pop those questions that you have for the panel into the Q&A tab on your screen. But for now, David, take it away.
Thanks very much, Catherine. This will be a fascinating topic, and I think using an evidence basis with which to go and do your digital transformation is absolutely paramount. So I can't wait to hear from our speakers today. With that, I want to give each speaker a chance to sort of introduce themselves. If we can start with you, Felix, if you can give us a quick introduction about yourself and your role.
Yes, I'm Felix Feikom. I'm leading the Data and Analytics Competence Center at Aldi Nord. This competence center comprises master data management, the analytics and reporting platform, building analytics and reporting use cases, market and consumer research, and business partners for the organization. So it's pretty much an end-to-end perspective on data and analytics.
Wonderful. And Christiane?
Yes, hi, David. So hello, everyone. Also from my side, I'm Christiane von Flotow, Head of Data Design at Uniper. And yeah, what I'm doing, I'm create information out of our data to bring data to value. And my focus at Uniper is on two things, on data strategy, on data architecture, to do what? To allow that we create new business models and improve in current ones. Thank you, David.
Wonderful. And Robin, if you can introduce yourself.
My pleasure. Hi, everyone. I'm Robin Jost. I work as a Chief Data and Analytics Officer for wefox. wefox is currently the largest insurtech in Europe and considered as the fastest 10 fintechs to reach a unicorn position among the world by Sifted. For a 5-year-old company, we're very happy with the growth that we have achieved in the last 5 years. My expertise lies in the area of data, AI, and product development.
Wonderful. Thanks for all of your introductions. Just to set the scene for our conversation today, if we could go through and sort of detail what digital transformation means for you and your organization. Robin, if you want to lead us off with that question.
Sure. In terms of, to me, in many ways, the question of what does digital transformation mean is beyond just thinking about in terms of tools or technologies. It's not about going paperless, it's not thinking about automation. To me, it's a case of how we plan to achieve a certain goal, and hence the word transformation. So one of the ways that I think about it is that how a company transforms, and there's that word again, transformation, to the needs, meeting the needs of the customer. And that's what we look at in terms of what it means for data and analytics, how we can change or adapt the existing businesses to meet the needs of our customers much better. Now, let me make it a little more specific. I want to give a very personal example from wefox, which would probably illustrate what I mean. So we are an insurance company. For us, digital transformation is not just doing everything through an app. We do that already. But for us, it's something more than that in terms of imagining the experience of our customer, how it would change in the age of digitization. So you see, in insurance as a model hasn't changed much in the past 100 years, right? You have a risk, you insure against it. And if bad things happen, you get some form of compensation. This is what insurance model has been. And it's been the same way for the last 100 years. So here's the key thing. Neither the customer nor the insurance company want this bad thing to happen. So if I'm taking a term insurance, I'm thinking that if something happened to me, my family will have some protection. And, but in the end, I don't want to die, at least not anytime soon. And neither does my insurance company wants me to die, at least not during the term of the insurance. So how can we change this outcome? For us, the power of data is we can actually change this around. We have now IoT devices. We have so much data that the customer herself collects about themselves. We can use that information to go from a place of compensating for a risk to preventing errors. And this is what digital transformation and data and technology brings to the whole thing. So hope that makes it clear.
Yeah, it definitely makes it clear. And I love your example that it's not just a case of throwing digital tools and techniques at it. It's more about these specific goals. And in your case, thinking about meeting the needs of your customer makes perfect sense. Christiane, do you want to build on that point?
Yes, happy to do so. So for me, digital transformation means that we are able to cope with a constant change on the market. On the one hand, also on the environment, and also for sure of our competitors. So, you know, there are a lot of changes all around, and I think we won't achieve one goal with digital transformation. For me, it's better to say how we cope with unexpected situations. And this means for me a change of the whole organization, that we are able, I mean, to achieve this attitude. And what actually we are doing is we are constantly shaping our business strategy towards new areas which are popping up here and there, and where other competitors, new competitors are jumping into. Not just saying hydrogen, I mean, this is also the renewables business, but also contractual assets and green customers, just to name some of them. At Uniper, digital transformation means for us that we also run a digital federated program. So we have set up a program to focus on different elements of our business areas, but also to areas like mindset shift, also areas of learning, constant learning cycles, and all these things. And for sure, also to absorb and to aspire also the customer perspective. And this means for me, as I mean, being responsible for data at Uniper, is also that we drive one of our work stream. This is called data to value. And this helps us to have the data thinking, the data in all of our topics included. And this helps us really to secure and create Uniper's future, so that we are able to cope, hopefully, with all the changes which are upcoming there.
Yeah, wonderful answer. I think that sort of constant learning cycle is pretty important, right? You're moving to systems of iteration and iteration to excellence, rather than these lightning strike ideas that you always have to nail in order to stay competitively advantageous. So I think those are really good examples. And Felix, what are your thoughts on digital transformation and what it means for your business?
I think in our organization, we tend not to call it a digital transformation. It's because we have an overarching transformation going, but very much focused on the business problems, something which I like and which I also helps to focus efforts. But digital topics and so anything having to do with technology, and also including data and analytics, pretty much goes is important for each and every topic, and there's not not a single topic where this doesn't play a huge role. So what we still, there is also some of those more fundamental or foundational topics we need to solve in data and analytics. So what we are trying to do is putting, let's say, roughly 80% of the resources on specific business problems, thereby also learning and improving the way we work, but also reserving, let's say, 20% of the resources on improving or doing the foundational works, improving our capabilities.
Yeah, I love that point too. And in many cases, calling it digital transformation and having a team that sits aside the business to try and bring these things through doesn't always necessarily work. Because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is transform existing business processes and operation, not create brand new ones. And if you don't have people that are already in these roles assisting that journey, then business adoption is always much lower and much more critical. And that ties into our next question, which is around data and analytics bringing us evidence that we can use in our digital strategy. Now, do you link digital strategy to your analytics? In some cases, I heard some really good examples of that. Or do you see it as a precursor that one becomes first for the other? If we start off this time with Christiane.
Thank you, David. So for us, it's important that this is an integrated part of all our work streams in our digital transformation. And we aim to, I would say, to think data and to be able to use the full power of the data we have. Why? Because we want to, develop also on our needs. We want to develop the data on our needs, and it is important to create information out of data. Just collecting data, it's not really, the real issue. I think the importance is to create valuable information out of it. And for us, it's important that all the data elements at Uniper are integrated in the whole digital strategy. More, I would call it, into our business strategy. And this is the overall game, and also the overall, I think, goal which we are having. So become an integrated part of the digital transformation. And to do so, at Uniper, we are aiming for, taking care of our data, not just our own, also data of our customers. And this means also that we know our data, that we are able to manage those. And this helps us to achieve innovation and also continuous improvement. So for me, a clear yes, you have to be an integrated part. So this is not that there is business and IT and data, so it's all integrated, and then you have the full power. So all of our work streams in the digital transformation programs have integrated the data element, if you ask me this way.
Yeah, I love that point, because if you think about many digital applications, the first thing that comes off the radar is the tracking, for instance, around what the user's doing, because that might be a little bit too complicated. But if you're not incorporating that, how do you learn from what your users are doing and actually utilize them in the right way to then actually make that a better solution for your customers? So I love that point, Christiane. If we hand over now to Felix, what are your thoughts around how data and analytics tie into digital strategy?
Yeah, at Aldi, the decision was made, and which I think was a great one, but it was actually before my time, to put extra effort on data analytics and data science, and found the Data Analytics Competence Center, and also look for somebody leading this. So this was me entering at some point. So it was felt at that point in time there is some extra focus needed to develop this capability and introduce also data-driven decision-making, data-driven culture there. Still, I feel it needs to be linked to all the other technology or digital modernization journeys, and also to the transformation journeys in different parts of the of business. So I would. The question also is a bit about, would we make something a precursor for the other? I would try to avoid that, because obviously this makes things sequential and costs speed. But very obviously, so I would always try to not make one a predecessor of the other, but there are some instances or some topics where you need some careful thinking about how you can work around that.
And in some cases, if you think about the transformation elements, you will have a really good insight, or you've generated a model that gives you some predictions. But if you haven't linked that to a capital funding of envelope to go and change business processes, or bring forward some investment, say, in supply chain to allow you to go and do some of these models, you see this disconnect where analytics doesn't necessarily give you the answer you want, because you haven't tied it to the actions you need to take in order to leverage the analytics. Robin, if we can hand over the question to you, and then we'll hear from Jörg as well.
Sure. To me, I think pretty much Christiane and Felix has covered it. For me, at least the way that our organization also looks at it is that digital transformation, if you look at it, right, or data-driven decision-making, it does not start by looking at, let's look at all the data that we have and then start thinking about what kind of models or what kind of analytics that we can create from it. Sure, that's one way of approaching the problem, but we believe that the right way of approaching the problem is to look at what are the business problems that we're trying to solve, and then look at the next step in terms of saying, what are the data that we have in terms of solving that problem? And even sometimes asking the question, if you don't have, let's say, X as a data, which you would ideally would like to have, how can we get that data? So we would not want to, at least from my perspective, I don't want to limit myself into just by thinking from what data that I have, but more in terms of thinking what kind of business problem that we're trying to solve. And many times this has helped us in terms of even looking at and saying, hey, we don't have this data, and we would really like to have this data before we actually solve this problem for the better.
That's a very important point. That's the feasibility assessment before you go and put too much resource in somewhere. So do I have the business support to actually go and solve the problem and make a change? Do I have the data sets I require? And if it's working in the field of analytics, do I have those skill sets? I think those are all equally important. Jörg, I'm going to give yourself a chance to introduce yourself to our attendees today. And then if you can answer that question as well, how does data and analytics tie into your company's digital strategy?
Hi. Sorry for the delay. There were some technical issues. My name is Jörg Dubiel. I'm in charge of data science in the KMO. The KMO is a fashion company, and my mission is to replace human intelligence by artificial intelligence or by a mixture of both. And your question, what is the prerequisite of success with data science? I'm in the line with Robin. To say it very clear, we don't start a data science process with data. We start a data science process with the right questions. Data do not answer unasked questions. And the relevant answers, business cases, I like to talk about thesis. The fruitful thesis don't come in first line from the data, but from the people. And the people have all the questions and all the business cases in their heads. And every cool data science process starts with bringing the ideas out of the heads of the people, and then to think about how could we prove that idea, how could we prove that thesis by data. And it gives you also an impression what kind of data is needed. So you don't have a big bunch of data and then the data tells you something, but you have a big bunch of ideas and you prove that ideas and business cases by means of data and data scientific approaches.
Yeah, I love that point too. You effectively build in a backlog of interesting questions in the business. And all too often you find that companies hire a bunch of data scientists thinking they're going to do heroic magic. But the reality is, without the questions coming from integrated business teams and without integration to those business teams, no such magic occurs. I think that's a really good answer. At this point, I just want to remind the audience, you can ask your own questions through the Q&A functionality and they'll come up at the end. So please do submit any questions that you might have for our panel here and learn from their perspectives. For the next question we're going to ask, we're going to think about, as digital transformation continues to evolve, what this is going to mean for you in your roles as chief analytics officers, and also for the wider data science function. How do you feel you're going to adapt to thrive in these outcomes, and how does it help you sort of leverage the skill sets you have in yourself and your teams to really drive transformation in the business? Robin, if we start with you and your perspective.
Sure. So there are really two questions in there, so I'll probably try to answer both. What does it mean for the CDO, CDAO? In short, I think she or he will be really busy in the next decade. And the second question is that, can you adapt to thrive on all outcomes? Sorry for answering a question with a question, but I mean, my answer is like, do I really have a choice? Look, it's complex. It brings a significant amount of challenges, but that's also the reason why not many people would have heard about this role 5 years back. And now we talk a lot about this role in the past 3 years. It's been created for a reason. Sure, it brings significant challenges. There is, on one side, we have challenges with data privacy, security, and governance, and the need to balance having more data to the need of protecting the users from gathering too much data, the data that we don't need. There is a challenge of talent availability. There is definitely a challenge of high expectations. I mean, this is a real issue because in some cases, because of the hype or the focus, the expectations are sky high and sometimes even unrealistic considering the timelines that are considered. So there are definitely, I mean, these are just some of the challenges. There are definitely many such challenges in the way, but I'm very optimistic because of the role. It's a very essential role, and while challenging, I do believe it will be more widely adopted across all the companies it brings a much more needed focus on data into the organization and the business plans.
Yeah, really great points. Your ideas around how the role is going to sort of change and thrive given the increased importance of digital transformation.
It's a complex question. To try to give a short answer, I think one buzzword is customer centricity. To bring the customer in the focus of your business model. But the customer is, these days, he is far away and he is to some extent anonym. You can't see him. And the only thing you have is data. And therefore, if you want to have customer centricity, you need all the data about a customer. And that means that data is the core of each business model, which tries to be customer-centric.
Yeah, great answer. That customer centricity is one of the key things around the digital interfacing as well as data. Digital interfacing should allow us to sort of have way more connectivity and way more options to understand what a customer is doing, their frustration points, how they respond across our business, and then analytics give us hopefully some prescriptions and predictions around how better to suit that. Felix, do you want to build on that point?
Yeah, so I feel the CDAO is a bit of, or is a transformation role. Yeah? So meaning this role is there to close the gap on the data and analytics side, to put extra focus on that, to put extra management attention on this problem, to build up this capability. So I expect the role actually to change and maybe even becoming at some point more integrated with other functions. Maybe the role itself might cease, but I think the one point which came across here, making sure that we don't make this a solution looking for problem, but rather focus on real problems. And I mean, if we can focus on real business problems, if we become very good at solving real business problems with facts, data science, with technology, I'm pretty sure there will be high demand for this type of capabilities going forward. So I think this is the winning strategy to thrive in all possible outcomes.
Yeah, I love that answer. And finally, Christiane, your ideas are where the CDAO role is going to evolve into as we go more and more digitized.
Let me think about it. So I think the role itself and the name, I think the most important is that we understand that we have to broaden our focus. So not just focusing on technology, how to use technology. I think it's important to focus on 4 different elements, and this especially in this role. And these are people, this is processes, for sure technology, but combined with business, and I mean the business strategy. So from my perspective, it is really crucial to understand as chief data officer, to understand really what is the business strategy that the company is aiming for. For sure, we are aiming this strategy because we need to know what are the needs of our customers with customer centricity for sure, but we have to understand what is then our business strategy. And it's not enough just being an expert in selecting and using technology. You have to go this extra mile, I would say, to create really an influence cycle between data strategy on the one hand and the business strategy on the other hand. So I have the impression that both can learn from each other. So I would say, somehow our business strategy guides the data strategy, and we also helping learn that the business strategy learns out of data and the information we are creating. So for me, this perspective is what we have to learn, and to not just learn, but also to utilize. And this means for me that we have to dig deeper into the business of our company and not just the existing business, also the business we are aiming for, and to understand also how can we evaluate new business use cases. And this brings me, I think, to Robin's answer back again. So it's important that we also learn methodologies like, from my point of view, also data thinking, that we understand how to evaluate business use cases from a perspective, also from a data perspective, that we understand which data can we rely on, which helps us also to evaluate if other competitors are already ahead of us, for example, in such topics. So I think this, I mean, match between data, business strategy, this is really important, and not just see it as a matter of fact, but that you are really, I mean, striving for. And this is, yeah, for me important. The last point I like to mention is, yeah, something which is important is that we also understand that we need some kind of governance also to help making data useful. If we don't spend time in, I mean, looking at quality of the data, I mean, then sometimes information are useless. And yeah, so these are the elements I think we have to look into in our role, all in all. So yeah, passing back to you, David.
Yeah, I love that point. We often hear data as an asset. And if you think about assets inside organizations like buildings or anything, right? So a building, we're going to have cleaners go through and clean it. We're going to do maintenance on it. We're going to understand it. We're going to catalog it. We're going to have an asset registry. So if data is truly an asset, why are we not doing that with our data sets? And in many organizations, they're not. The other point I could hear within that is the idea that identifying a value step to actually be taken is very crucial. If I can't identify a value step very early on in the piece of analytics, then I'm probably not on the right path and my question's not resolute enough. Brings me to one of our audience's questions. So Andre has asked if any of the speakers can give a concrete example of data science or digital transformation improving an aspect of their company. So where you've kind of taken a business idea all the way through to something that really changed the business. If we start with you, Felix, can you give an example?
Yeah, I mean, we are looking at, for example, we are looking how to improve our category of our products catalog, essentially. And what we use there is also information of our footprint in different countries. So what we learned from in one country also maybe might be useful for other countries. So this is where we also look for similarities, but also differences, and how we can use this to improve this category. And I think you can directly imagine this very quickly translating into sales or not sales.
Yeah, I think that's a great example where you're identifying who's likely to participate in that category and getting them the right offer, and then thinking about price elasticities and such is always a really important one in your sector. Jörg, if you want to give us an example from your background.
Well, the car mail order company has a promotional budget of a couple of 100 million euros. And it has around about 15 brands, and it has and the KMO has different promotional channels. And we had the problem or the challenge that we want to measure the cooperative phenomena of all the below the line marketing, above the line marketing of SEO, SEA, print, television promotions. And we established a model that measures all that cooperative phenomena of the different promotional channels. And we are now able to control and to steer much better than in the past all the promotional budget. And this makes a big leverage. You can imagine if you have more 100 million euro of promotional budget every year, you spend that way. So you will know that under the headline attribution model, it's a well-established model, but to implement that in an established business model, it's a challenge. And this is one of the big improvements we had in the company by data science.
Yeah, you think of how many times companies are using promotions and marketing, but not attributing it back to revenue or awareness uplift. And that simple step around having a marketing goal and a real clear reason, but then actually being able to attribute what your actions are to an output is massively important. Robin, if we can go to you on that question, a concrete example of data science or digital transformation in your org.
Sure thing. So again, going back to this aspect of customer satisfaction that I was talking about. So we are an insurance company, right? Essentially, our job is primarily to find the right products for our customer. So if you think about products, insurance products, as a way of selling that to the customer, there's two aspects that come as very important. Number one is the need. Does the customer, does he or she really needs this product? Do they benefit from this product? The second aspect is trust, and trust comes in many ways, right? One is, do I trust this person to give me the right product, to advise the right product to me? Does he have the expertise? The other could be that, do I have a rapport with this person? Do I connect with this person? Can this person really understand my needs? So there are many aspects in terms of making our customer satisfied or safe, and these two are some of the most important ones: the need and the trust. We have AI models which is handling both of those parts. So in terms of needs analysis, we have basically a recommendation model. So we have some AI-based recommendations models which we can look at from a customer's perspective and say, based on many aspects, at their certain life stage, at their certain risk characteristics or other aspects of age and other aspects, these would be the products that they would need. And this is highly successful in terms of really, really even informing the customers about what are the potential risks and what would they gain from choosing certain products. The second aspect of it, going for trust, is where we create various matching models. These are various reinforcement learning models that we created to find the right broker or the agent to speak to the customer. Again, I go back to the example of trust, right? Can this person understand me, my needs? Or does this person have expertise necessarily on the products that I want? Let's say I want to talk about life insurance or health insurance or private health or something like that, as a very specific example. So here we use matching models and we use reinforcement learning to create various ways to match the right customer to the right agent or the broker. In the end, when we implement both of these models together, we have seen that it actually increases our customer satisfaction much, much better. We do have repeat customers, our customers like us, and most importantly, when all this comes together, we also have significantly better revenues.
I love the point you make about trust and transparency, because I believe, not only do I believe, if you look at regulatory pressure from GDPR and the recent talk around what Bayesian inference can be used with AI use cases, the need to inform our customers how we're using their data set is becoming more and more pressing. And to touch on Christiane's point around governance, our customers need to form part of that governance and let us know what they're accepting us to do with their data. And often it's a basis of service and such. So I love that point. Christiane, if you want to give us a concrete example of data science or digital transformation in your business, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. Happy to do. So for us, an example which is related to security and reliability. And this is, imagine, what is Uniper doing? We are producing energy. So yeah, and we are selling it to the market, to the wholesale market, but also trading it. So what does it mean for us to secure and do a reliable forecast of our energy production? Means that we are able to predict main component failures of our plants, hydro plants, and so to say. And why are we aiming to predict main component failures? Because we want to foresee our energy production so that we are also can reliable, serve customers with energy. If not, it would be hard, to manage also on the energy market, the trade-off. And so this is for me an example which everybody can potentially see. You don't feel it because the electricity is still, I think, in your household for sure. But at the trading market, it is really crucial to be a front runner on this, that you really can fulfill your contracts you promise to fulfill, and this helps us. Their analytics helps us really to do this in a secure and reliable way. So means, this is one example. So to predict main component failures, to steer also the production. A second example is more in the trading area. This is, for example, to trade contracts. So we are using new algorithm which are developed by a lot of our data scientists. So we are also testing ideas how we can trade new products at the market. For sure, before we are going to use it in production, but this helps us to play also with the data. And I think this is the important thing about, not to forget that people also love to play with data. So who are with data, they love data. And if we enable them really to use data in a proper manner, not just with a tool set, but also with all the information around, and also building up capabilities, I think then this is a game, I mean, we all want to play. And it's not just a game, for sure, this is our business, which we are relying on. But technology must also be some fun part on this. Yeah, so David, this is related to your question.
Yeah, really, really good answer. I think the bringing it into a company strategy and understanding what the outcomes meant to be for that company, like what are the key 20% of processes that make us spectacular, is often where data science needs to focus, and often where digital transformation needs to focus. You think about the examples of everyone going and building a chatbot, but it not necessarily tying into what they're actually going to move the boat with. It's just a box ticking exercise, and too often we see digital transformation be box ticking. We've got time for one more question, and on that note, if you could give one tip to our audience around how they can turbocharge their digital transformation strategy using data and data science, what would it be? Let's start with you, Christiane.
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I didn't got it really, David. What is the difference?
One tip that would turbocharge digital transformation inside the organization. Okay,
so a turbo. I think important is that you how do you call that you start with a just do mentality. So it's important that you come up with the first successes early. So this is also for me every time again important. So you have to not build up long strategies. So you have to enable colleagues to test their ideas quickly. So this is, I think, a booster for all digital transformation areas and teams. You also have to set up a framework which allows people to act in a secure way. Yeah, that they easily can just also have some money to play around. Yeah, a certain amount. This means also this, and thirdly, this is, giving a stage that people can also present and share results with a broader community in your company. And last but not least, this is, I think, reached out to a broader ecosphere. So this is actually what I'm doing all the time. So to share your ideas with other companies, not the secret ones, but the idea of developing things. You can learn from each other, and often you also get new ideas how to create joint business models also across companies. I would say this could boost your journey really. And last but not least, learn from failures. This means also not celebrating failures, but I think promote them, that people are sharing their insights, why they fail with a topic, that you can learn out of it.
Yeah, those retrospectives are very important. We hear fail fast as almost like a key driver of digital. And the goal is not to fail, the goal is to learn. So the next time we do something, we have a higher probability of winning. Robin, if you want to touch on that point, what's one tip you can give to turbocharge digital strategy?
I want to think of two, but they're very connected. So I'll cover that very quickly. I think the first and foremost learning for me was that, I should not approach it as a project, because sometimes when we talk about digital transformation, it feels like, it's a 6 month, 1 year, 2 year thing, and then you're done with it, right? I would think of it as a lifestyle, because essentially what we're really thinking about is not to just get something done, and that it's a little bit like getting fit, right? Sure, you can run that 5 kilometers or more today, but can you continue to do that in the next decade or so? So it's not a project, it's a lifestyle, and we need to keep that in mind when we are implementing something. Can I keep doing it or improving upon it in the next few years and even decades? The second one, and this is sometimes some of the mistakes that I've done also in the past, is not to confuse that with adopting a technology. So a technology usage is just a how part of answering the digital transformation. Again, going back to the fact that it's a lifestyle, we need to start thinking about the why question, not necessarily the how question, because that comes much later. Exactly which technology do I use in terms of achieving the transformation?
That's a great point. Don't rush to tool selection. Think about the why and what you're trying to achieve before you think about how you're going to do it. Is a great point. Jörg, your one tip to turbocharge digital transformation.
Sorry, it's not just one tip. The first tip is distinguish between digital transformation and data-driven transformation and understand the difference. And then start with a digital transformation and be very fast with the second step, the data-driven transformation, because nobody would put new wine in old bottles. So the digital transformation, to stay in that metaphor, is the bottle, and the wine is the logic. The data-driven transformation, start with the bottle and then fill in the new wine, but distinguish between both the digital transformation and the data-driven transformation.
Great point. And finally, Felix, what's your one tip to turbocharge digital transformation?
I would go big on exactly one thing, and this is the business or the value at stake from a business point of view. So the business problem itself. Everything else, I would go very small. So starting by delivering small solutions, even starting maybe, if you can help with the big business problem by providing a simple Excel file, that might not be the data science ambition, but you will get there later, but it helps you get going and starting to deliver value. And the going big on the business problem assures that you're high on the company's or organization's priority list, and to get resources, also get the backing if something goes wrong at some point in time, and also getting the attention and decisions you need. So that's my tip. Go big on the biggest business problem.
Yeah, drive first on value. Find that value step and really drive that for executive mandate. Find people in the business who can take the change step that you need, and that's a really good way to partner digital transformation. With that, we've reached the end of our time. I'd like to extend a thank you to all of our speakers, Christiane, Robin, Felix, and Jörg. I all thought you had really good perspectives and really good answers to each of these questions. So thanks a lot for that. And now I'll hand back over to Catherine.
David, thank you so much, and a fantastic job there moderating what is a really interesting discussion. And just to echo that, thank you to our guests for joining us. Now, of course, you can meet our speakers in a short while during the meet and greet later today. And you can also have a bit of FaceTime with your attendees as well. So please do join that session at the end of the day. And for everyone that joins, we are donating €5 to charity as well. So there's lots of reasons to join that session. Now, we are heading into a short 15-minute intermission, so please do grab a drink, stretch your legs, and come back for an exciting presentation all about smart analytics. And of course, you can explore the event platform as well, where we have our resource tab full of downloadable, brilliant content. I'll meet the partners as well, so you can learn a bit more about them. And of course, have a look in the agenda, because shortly after that presentation about smart analytics, we will have our roundtables, and you will have the choice of 2 to attend. So choose which one you would like to be part of. Until then, we'll see you very soon.